trying to, hear where the candidates stand and what their thoughts are on various issues that affect that community. And yeah, so if you're interested in that, that'll be happening next Thursday night at TSU, and of course the show will be Friday, so you'll be hearing about it after it's already happened next week. But maybe you can come out there. I plan to be there. Maybe Michael will be there. Maybe Johnny will be there. Maybe they won't, but you could be there.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds interesting. Looks like they've got a number of people interested in it. And again, that's Thursday, July 18th from 6:30 to 9 on the campus of TSU. I was looking in the about to see if they had more information about where it would be there. I see somebody else asks that,
There's
but
not much
no
information
answer.
on it yet.
Yeah, just a lot of likes on where. And I just added myself to that list of likes there on where on the campus of TSU. But yeah, it's good that they're hosting this. I'd like to, maybe that's something else to get deeper into is, particular issues that would, this is a LGBTQ focused forum. So, I guess the questions become also, well, they have here in the about, of issues that are important to that community. So I'd like to think about what decisions does the mayor make that could be of import to that community as above any other community? Like, how is it
Yeah,
different?
I think that's always interesting as far as there in any sort of election or local politics. There are specific groups. Some could call them special interest groups. Right? Different types of special interests, not just corporate interests, but others. And you know, each group has their preferences and their goals and their ideas. And so when they meet or talk to political candidates, they want them to, in a way, I guess, cater to them. You
Well,
know,
maybe they also have their own particular perspective, right? So perhaps they bring something to the discussion because of their perspective that others haven't brought to the discussion. That forces the candidate to think about it in terms of their principles and philosophy. So maybe, a cis or whatever you want to say candidate would not have thought of some of these issues and now has to process them in terms of, well, what would I do as a statist or what would I do as a freedom minded candidate to better serve that concern? So it's interesting because in one way they're saying, they want to hear what the candidates have to say for them, but at the same time, I imagine any candidate with ears would go to hear what they have to say to the candidates.
yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting, just to hear how that whole local politics thing works. And for those who've been listening, you guys know that I'm running for mayor of Houston as well. And so if you've listened to Freethinker Radio for a number of years, we've been on since 2011. It's definitely come as a surprise to some people, and it's not my usual thing, and it's not going to be a career type thing. It's just an
Just since
experiment.
you got the implant.
If anything is an experiment, it's a way to talk to new people. But it is interesting to see what people's expectations are in relation to that, because I'm learning a lot. Because this isn't my way to approach things. This is not my way to achieve change. Typically, is by going and asking. This is not the way I would do it, right? I just try to get involved, and so I'm putting myself in this position where other people how is the I get a lot of these questionnaires from the LGBTQ community, from the unions, from the log cabin Republicans, from this group of Democrats, and they all want you to answer how you're going to help their community or the student groups or
How
this
are you
that.
going to help me?
Everybody's looking for the government to take care of them for different ways, and that's what I see is like everybody's like, well, what are you going to do for us on this issue, or what about on this issue, what about this issue? And that's fine for people to have concerns, obviously, but I've just realized that a lot of people in the world, I'm not expecting everybody to be anarchists or anything like that, but a lot of people in the world do look towards government, big or small, as the one that's supposed to take care of them or things for them.
Yeah, it is sort of
And
a fundamental presupposition for most people, right?
it seems to be, and now, so I'm learning more. Obviously, I knew that ahead of time, but it does seem to be coming out more when I see like that. I mean, and I'm going to participate in the LGBTQ forum because I care about all people's liberties and freedoms the same way I think all of us do for everybody. But I don't necessarily feel the need to make that like explicit to one specific community to give them like a shout out to like this particular community, just so that I can be perceived as checking that box off or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The appearance of inclusion.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to get into another local story or jump right into Epstein? I know that you
I
were
got
looking.
one other local one. I don't know how.
Oh yeah, Johnny had something to throw in.
Yeah,
Let's do
let's
it.
talk. And this person's coming through town, right? You're going to frame this a
Well,
little. because that's what happens.
I just want to mention really quickly for those who are watching live via YouTube.
You let them in the house, huh?
They cannot hear Johnny on YouTube at the moment, so I just want to make it clear. So if you're listening live, unfortunately, you're not hearing the whole show.
Put one of the headphones on wherever that speaker.
But we'll make it happen. All right, so Johnny, let's go to your friend's call.
There's an extra pair.
Sasha, are you there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty good, just enjoying the heat.
Yeah, you guys are from California. Are you from like the part that's 70 degrees all the time?
No, definitely not. No, we're from Northern California, so I mean it gets to like 150, 117 up there. It just gets cold at night, which is the difference.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool, man. So why don't you tell us, well, first of all, we're going to be playing a show at the House of Jay tonight, which is on the east end of Houston at 323 Hutchinson Street. For anyone who's interested in some punk rock, there's also the Fails, who've been played on this station several times, my band El Jumbotron, as well as a new band, Your Disorder, which is like made up of a bunch of people who just graduated high school. And I'm always really happy to see the young kids come out. But you guys came long and far, and you told me you did it all yourself. Why don't you tell some people about how to get across the country on your own dime without a record label or anything like that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, so we've been a band for about, our band Fall Children, we've been a band for about 2.5 years or so, and we started out like,
Hutchinson Street.
I actually booked the tour before I had any other band members, and all that really consisted of was just putting, releasing some kind of music, even if it was really bad, which it was at first, releasing some kind of music and really just looking on Instagram and Facebook and those social media sites about where the scenes are and what bands play where, what, who runs the venues and whatnot. And just over time, over the last couple of years, keeping on that and constantly touring around, California and the Pacific Northwest, meeting all the other people that come throughout the country, you just pretty much built up a real big amount of contacts if you're paying attention and keep up with everything. And I think that's the biggest element of doing DIY touring is that you do keep up on it. And, we meet bands, like Noogie, who are from Dallas, Texas, and totally, make, a whole state happen for us, where we have, 4 shows in this state.
You find, the connectors. Yeah, I really thought that was interesting, just how the music business, since some things have gotten easier and some things have gotten harder over the years, and now we know that, social media and stuff like that can really make it easier for bands nowadays to get around and find other people.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, I'm sorry we don't have too much time, but just wanted to say we're going to be playing your song, your 33-second song, Donald Trump Is Not My Fuhrer, at our halfway break today. And I hope you have an awesome day. Enjoy the Texas thing.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
Okay, have a good one, bud.
That's pretty good. Heck yeah.
All right. Who is that, Johnny? Say it again. Sasha.
On their own.
I think
the resources are out there. If you bother to do the work, you can connect the dots and travel across the country and do things.
No, you don't. Well, the YouTube crowd could hear you guys, and anybody who's interested in seeing us live in the studio, which is not really that exciting. We're hanging out in the studio. We're also doing it for only the second time, so the cameras are back and forth and off and weird, but I appreciate my typical YouTube audience hanging out. But if you want to watch live, you can go to youtube.com/consciousresistance. And of course, you can always listen at kpft.org, or if you're in Houston, on 90.1 FM. And if you want to call in, whether you're in Houston or not, 713-526-5738. We get to hijack the airwaves for an hour a week on FM in Houston, the 4th largest city in the country, and talk about all the real important news that we think. Some of it's relevant mainly to Houston, others are just, conversations, philosophy, discussion with people about all kinds of things. So we love to hear from you.
Some of it's just analysis of the news and how things are presented, and other things are just what's happening. This is a quick one here for the local area. Houston's getting we were talking about government beforehand, the mayor and things like that. Houston's getting $6.2 million from FEMA, another, justification how great they are, right? For Harvey vehicle repairs and replacement. Can't let an opportunity go to waste. Federal Emergency Management Agency on Thursday announced it had awarded See, we're getting a prize. City of Houston, more than $6.2 million to repair and replace vehicles damaged by Hurricane Harvey floodwaters. It turns out the city will use these funds to purchase 92 new vehicles, including 14 for the fire department. The funds, which came through FEMA's Public Assistance Grant Program, required $692,000 local match from the city. So, yeah, it turns out during Harvey and the immediate aftermath, the city lost 226 vehicles, including cargo vans, dump trucks, sedans, utility vehicles. The flood destroyed 16 fire department vehicles and other things such as weed sprayers, air compressors, mowers, blah, 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 blah.
So that's from DHS? That's
yeah,
FEMA?
DHS. Yeah, you're getting a grant. Getting an award. Do you feel like a winner?
I do feel like a winner. So that's from the federal government. Houston getting $6.2 million for vehicle repairs. So, yeah, all right. Well, I think it's interesting that we've talked about this before, how the federal government comes in and gives money for different things. Some of this could be like, hey, vehicle repairs, helping the streets or something. But also the DHS is the one who gave grant funding for Houston to buy surveillance cameras all over the city. And sometimes that help from the government comes in that way.
What about militarism? Like, what about weapons and tanks and stuff? Do they sometimes help them with that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, occasionally the government will hand out gifts in the form of MRAP vehicles and, armored vehicles and things of that sort.
Houston's supposed to host the 3rd Democratic debate on ABC.
What I like about seeing that these debates are in our city is I want to go be there,
No doubt.
KPFT, Freethinker Radio, we should be there.
I think we should be there.
Oh, we got a phone call. Let's
why
okay.
not?
Let's go to the phone calls. Let's see if we can do this.
All right.
Who do we have with us today?
Hey, caller, how are you?
Scott?
Hi, Scott.
I've been reading a book about the O.J. Simpson trial, so of course have been reading about the Los Angeles Police Department, and I cannot resist comparing it with Houston. And I think of things I don't want done in Houston that were done in Los Angeles. For example, the Los Angeles Department got a lot of autonomy in the early 50s when it was assumed that the department should not be, that intervention by politicians was corruption. So they have strong civil service system that makes it impregnable, and it can freeze in racism. Now in Houston, before Kathy Whitmire was elected, the chief always came from within the ranks and was white. Kathy Whitmire changed that, of course. You remember Lee Brown?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, he came from New York. And later, of course, he became mayor. And, well, I don't think HPD is perfect, but I think it can be more answerable to the public. But it also depends on how much the Houston public wants it to be answerable. A lot of people don't vote in local elections.
Yeah, that's definitely true. People don't vote in local elections. You're right about that.
I vote in every election I get.
Are you going to be voting for mayor?
I certainly will be voting in that race.
Who are you interested in?
Either Sue Lovell or Sylvester Turner. I got a call from Turner's campaign the other day and said I had divided loyalties. I've worked in both their campaigns.
Do you feel that Turner has lived up to your expectations, or there's a lot of people who are dissatisfied with Turner, but you're still happy with him?
Actually, I think he's pretty much lived up to my expectations. I think he knows what is politically possible. I would like him to sponsor a Houston Equal Rights Ordinance, but that got beat down by 61% of the people who actually voted, and there were not enough people who thought they had a civic duty to reject the fraud of the bathroom hoax. I think a lot of the Houston public doesn't
Well,
And
we're gonna have to
make it
wrap it up
interesting
there, sir. We got to go to a break in just a moment, but we appreciate your call, Scott.
Okay.
And I just want to let you know. Hopefully, you heard us mention there's a Pride forum coming up next week. There'll be other forums and debates, and
Yeah.
there's actually about 9 candidates running right now, and I hope you'll check them all out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do know you're running for mayor.
Yeah, check it out.
Yes. Thank you.
The other 8.
All right, thank you. Check the other 8 out as well. There's a lot more people running, but thank you for that, Scott. We appreciate the call. All right, Micah, it's almost time for our music break, I think. What do you think?
I think it is. We got 2 songs actually.
Yeah, let's
One's
go
real
for.
brief and one's in the
This is our 6-minute music break. We're trying out a new format here on the show. We're going to get to, the local things in the first 30 minutes and cover an important story or take your calls. We have time allotted for calls. And then in the second half, we'll get into some news Micah's got. I'll be talking about Jeffrey Epstein. We'll take more of your calls. And if you're watching on YouTube, I guess you'll get to hang out with us a little bit extra. But who do we got coming on, Johnny? What's the thing? We got a lot of calls coming in, but we're going to have to wait to them for the next break. So if you're on the line waiting, please hang out if you'd like to, or call back in about 10-15 minutes.
Are they yelling?
They might be upset.
I haven't answered all of them yet. This next song is called Donald Trump Is Not My Fuhrer by the Fall Children.
Donald Trump is not my Fuhrer! Donald Trump is not my Fuhrer! Donald Trump is not my Fuhrer!
Hey, what's up, guys? Y'all haven't officially met Micah. This is Micah. Somebody said, who's the beautiful blonde? This is my buddy Micah. For those who have never met Micah before on the YouTube channel, me and Micah have been doing Freethinker Radio since 2011. And we started on Local Live Houston, an internet radio station here in Houston, and we play local music. We do all the stuff I already do on YouTube, but we get to do it on the FM studio now. And you can see there's Johnny over there. There's Johnny. He's in the control room. Johnny gets to play producer. He helps us. He's like, what?
Before we had
Johnny doesn't know why we're looking at him. He's like, what's going on? But
he's gonna come through.
So this is the call board. You guys can see we got all these phone calls right here. We're still live on YouTube, so we're like talking.
Dude, I think we lost that third call with the last song.
Oh yeah.
They hung up.
Yeah.
So we're in the studio and we're playing some music right now. We got to get it figured out how to get you guys to hear the music other than me just holding this.
Well, I'm gonna put that guy on. You have fun with that.
No, don't bring him on. Don't bring him on.
You said you're gonna answer calls. Now I'm in the fun. Now
well, if he stays on, he's got to hang for.
He can hang out through this Banshee song.
So we got people hanging out for the phones right here. That's our phone lines. Lots of people calling in. And
how long is this song?
Like however long that thing says, like 3.5 minutes or
Does
something.
it count down?
It should count down. If not, you
Johnny.
can set it to.
What up, Johnny?
There's some button there that lets you set it to count down.
Johnny hangs out in the other room over there.
The control room.
The control room does all the cool stuff. And we do have music playing.
That's not the cool stuff. We hated doing that. We were so thankful when Johnny came on. No, it's not bad doing all that stuff. It's just that between reading and pushing buttons and trying to answer the phone, it's just too many arms. And
we got our computers here doing our thing, and
it works a lot better. But now we're going to have more dynamic visuals on the archives. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, we're trying to, this is the first day we're doing this right now this way, so in the future you'll actually be able to hear Johnny better. I won't have to hold these freaking headphones next to the camera for you to hear the music and hear the callers. We'll have it plugged in directly to the board, but for the moment, this is what we're doing. So thank you guys for hanging out, and this is what it's like when we're in the studio. We figured we'd want to show you more than just the audio, and you can actually see us in the studio every week. So what are we listening to right now?
Actually, the 5th studio release from metal band Banshee that just actually street date today, or not today, but Tuesday. So we have an advanced copy, and we're playing it, and it's good energy. They've been to town here before, and I'll actually be hanging out with them at the Whiskey A Go Go at Visionary Noise showcase there August 2nd. So yeah, Banshee, intense metal stuff, pretty good stuff.
Yeah, so Banshee, where can they listen to them?
If you can just type in Banshee Rocks, you can find them and listen to them. They're out there on Spotify and all over the place. This album, though, is only available through their label at Visionary Noise for now.
Oh, we also want to say that if you are a musician, I know of different musicians that you guys know on my channel that I'm a musician and I play in some bands and like different styles of music. If you have music, whether you're in Houston or not, send it to us. And if it's got to be FCC friendly, unfortunately. It's We got to play by the FCC rules in order to have access
That's why
to
we
the
have this flush button.
FM airwaves. So
But
if
it
you guys,
freaks us out.
if you call in and say something crazy, we have to go like hit that. But if you want us to play your music, make it FCC friendly or
Let us know which one is.
make an edited version or something, and we'll put it on air.
Yeah, some of those actually, we have an FCC compliant version of a song from the Fails, and I guess online it's got more views
We
than
are
others.
back now on Freethinker Radio.
Nice. We were talking to people. We're live streaming at the same time, so we're trying to make sure these ideas and the callers reach even a greater audience, because you may not be aware, but often these archives are getting 400, 300, 600 views. So we realize that the archives are getting more views sometimes than maybe even online the show is. So it's hard for us to know the measure of what's out there in FM land, especially across 3 different listening, geographies. So,
But either way, whether you're listening in Houston or Galveston or listening online, watching live, or wherever you're listening from, or watching it later in the future, our future, your present.
Yeah, you're present.
It's your present, but it's our future. If you're listening from the present future, then thank you for that.
Yeah,
so what do you got, Micah? What do you got? We got to get into some news, and we got more phone calls. There's people who've been hanging on the line, Micah. We can't keep them there forever.
Yeah, maybe we do. Maybe we do need to take these calls. I just had a little bit more Houston. We did already talk about the debates coming here, so now Johnny. Yep, see, that guy got mad at Johnny, hung up something. I don't know. It's chaos. Johnny's like, nobody's mad at me.
Nobody hang up. We'll be there. But we got a couple stories to cover. Hang on if you want to be on the air. You give us about 5-10 minutes or so. It's 3:30. There's still time in the show. Come on.
Well, I think we should go ahead and get to, it's all over the news. We talked about it a while back.
Who's that?
That man
That
you don't even want to talk about
horrible
anymore.
man that I'm sick of talking about, Jeffrey Epstein. Well, let me just say this: if people have been listening to Freethinker Radio for however long a time, you've heard us talk about Jeffrey Epstein. If you've followed on YouTube, you've heard reports of both from Freethinker Radio and some of the reports I've done. I think we've even played. Yeah, actually, when I went to the trial back in December, we played on Freethinker Radio. We played the interview with Bradley Edwards, the attorney who has been fighting Epstein. We played that on air. Probably the only place you heard about it. Well, definitely in Houston, I'd say. And interestingly, Johnny, I told Micah this. You didn't hear this yet, and the audience doesn't know this yet. But the past couple days, Fox News has tried to get permission to play my video on TV for the past couple days. Yeah. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know the name, Johnny, you tell us who he is. Jeffrey Epstein. Just in case you're tuning in either live on YouTube or on KPFT and you have no idea who Jeffrey Epstein is, you haven't seen the headlines or haven't been paying attention for a while. Jeffrey Epstein is a alleged billionaire and convicted pedophile sex offender back in 2008. Was investigated by the FBI and Florida authorities and others, and linked to dozens and dozens of cases of molesting underage girls, teenage girls, some as young as 12, 13, 14, and 16 and older. And he's got a private island, some people call orgy island, sex island. There's all kinds of crazy things. These are stories that you don't typically hear in the quote-unquote mainstream, but this past week, since Jeffrey Epstein's arrest last Saturday, they've been all over CNN, New York Times, and doing reports and asking questions that people like myself, Micah, and other people in independent, quote-unquote alternative, I'd say new media, have been asking for years, really, and over the years, like, say, hey, why is this guy getting off with such a sweetheart deal with such, connections? Where are these connections coming from? And how is this taking place without, people actually intervening and stopping?
Yeah. How is it happening without anybody caring? And this seems to be, stuff like, what is it, hidden in plain sight? You see these things, you see little pieces of them, and, it's not just this Epstein case like you're talking about, but a number of things that later come to light. So,
well,
anyway,
there's been a spike of these going on now, and some people are saying, okay, this is the sort of Me Too is a result of that. But I don't know, and I think that's maybe part of it. But with cases like Epstein, where you have this guy is not just a billionaire convicted sex offender who got off with a sweetheart deal 10 years ago. He's been rubbing elbows with princes, royalty, presidents, and all kinds of different officials over the years. And I think that that's why the case has garnered extra special attention over, in recent years before it caught on mainstream. Now, last November, the Miami Herald put out the I can't remember the title of it, but it was a three-part investigative look into Jeffrey Epstein. And for the most part, the information they put forth was already known, and it's already been out there. What they did, compared to what others didn't do, was they actively contacted some of the various victims who spoke up for the first time, and that is a good, I'd say, a good action, right? But then it started to make mainstream headlines, and people started to call for Alexander Acosta, Trump's current labor secretary, who just this morning finally did resign after people calling for him to resign since last November. And I will say again, like before the Miami Herald came out, other people, YouTube investigators, independent journalists, have been calling out and saying, hey, did you know Trump appointed this guy into this position? And, he's on Trump's team, and, just pointed out these connections. Now, Micah, this is the craziest part to me. In the recent days, we've had mainstream press asking, well, where does Jeffrey Epstein's wealth really come from? This guy's, worth billions of dollars, but there's no clear evidence to where he actually got the money from. He's got some interesting connections again, and some business deals, real estate deals he did. The house that they arrested and that they are now potentially going to seize, it's a mansion in New York City, apparently one of the biggest mansions. It was given to him by Leslie Wexner, who's the owner of the limited brands of Victoria's Secret, also Victoria's Secret fashion shows. And what we know about Epstein is he was recruiting these young girls through the fashion shows, through another man named Jean-Luc Brunel, who had this M2 modeling agency, and through some of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows. And that's, when you start to put these connections together, this is why people are looking at Trump. There's no clear proven evidence yet. Trump claims that he knew him now, and then just today he addressed it and said, I threw him out of Mar-a-Lago, Trump's club, saying because, he had a bad break with him. We don't really know the truth. I don't know that I even believe that, and we're dissecting this within minutes here on the radio, but I will recommend anybody who's new to this topic just to check out the YouTube channel. We've got lots of reports there and a documentary on this topic. It's more than we can cover in 5-6 minutes on the radio. But if you're looking into this or you're hearing about it in the mainstream, I do recommend looking deeper than just what you're hearing on the front of CNN.com or the New York Times. Because even though it is finally breaking to the mainstream, and even though they're finally asking, hey, is Jeffrey Epstein an intelligence agent? Like that's literally a headline in the New York Times where they're not mockingly, but seriously considering the possibility that Epstein is a KGB, and of course they say Russian, but potentially a Mossad agent, or even potentially a British secret agent. But all signs seem to point to, if that is the case, intelligence involved, which we've heard this from Acosta himself, apparently, and when he was being interviewed to be joining the Trump transition team, they asked him about this, and he said he was told that Epstein was above his pay grade, and that he had intelligence connections. Like, that's the guy, the labor secretary that gave the sweetheart deal, that Trump appointed a labor secretary that just resigned this morning after so much outcry, said that he was told Epstein was above his pay grade and had intelligence connections. And one of the journalists who investigated him back in 2002 said that he came to Vanity Fair and talked to the editor and got them to change a story about two of the younger girls that he had been accused of molesting, in exchange for him giving them a picture of him in a bathing suit. And the lady said that her editor told her, the story, it doesn't really need that. We're going to take more of a business angle. And it was like a look into who is this mysterious Jeffrey Epstein, and yada, yada, yada. So this guy's got a lot of power, a lot of influence. He has this private island. He's got a house in Paris, a house in Palm Beach, a house in New York City, ranch in New Mexico. The private island, some of these women that have been accusing Epstein for over 10 years, 15 plus years, accuse him of raping them, molesting them on this island, and that very powerful people. They accuse everybody. These are the accusations. This is what we're going to be exploring now that Epstein is in custody and will be going to court at some point, unless he cuts another deal. Hopefully not. Hopefully the truth will come to light. People like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Kevin Spacey, Courtney Love, Alan Dershowitz, Prince Andrew, and others are accused of being involved in Jeffrey Epstein's sex rings and this kind of activity. So this is making mainstream news. It's pretty trippy to see it happening. Right now. But as I said, for people like us, and I think others out there who feel, I want to see real justice. That's all I can say. If somebody asked me, like, does it feel good to see that you put out a documentary before the mainstream and it went viral? It's like, I'm glad people learned about it. But all I really care about is, like, the real heroes of these women who are finally willing to come forward, because a lot of them have been scared in the past. And now that they're seeing Epstein actually get arrested and hopefully real justice served, it seems like more women are going to be willing to come out, because his victims number, we know, at least up to 80 and possibly in the hundreds of women over the years, because he apparently had a very, very sick, depraved habit of messing with these young girls every single day and paying them off. And he not only that, but preyed on poor younger girls, like went to like trailer parks in the area, in different places where they're, you know, poor communities where they might be willing to do certain things for money or feel pressured to. And then some of them were flown to this private island and apparently forced to have sex with all kinds of people. That's what is reported. That's what's in the court records. That's what the accusations are. The truth hopefully will come to light in the coming weeks. On Monday, Jeffrey Epstein goes back to court, and we'll find out if they're going to grant him a $77 million bail, where he'll be forced to be on house arrest in his $1 million mansion, his multi-million-dollar mansion, with cops guarding his house, and his brother apparently, you know, being his custodian or whatever. So that's where we're at with this case. It's huge, it's crazy, and yes, most of you out there hearing this would probably dismiss it as conspiracy theory if it wasn't being reported as the mainstream. That's the problem. A lot of people did in the recent years. People were dismissing these ideas as conspiracy theory when people have been calling these things into question. So I think it's important for us sometimes to really just focus on the evidence and not just be dismissive. But Johnny, we got a caller about Epstein. Is that what you're saying? All right, let's hear the caller.
Hello, hello.
Hello, am I in the air?
Yes,
You are.
Okay, terrific. Okay, my name is Tom, and thanks for bringing all the information about Epstein. Some facts I didn't even know about. I didn't know Acosta resigned, and I didn't know about the intelligence connection. But the only thing I'm going to say is for your listeners, this could be just the tip of the iceberg, even as big a case as this is. And there's a couple things I would want to point them to. One is a video called Conspiracy of Silence, and it links a connection between Boys Town and the Bush White House. This was going to be aired on the TLC channel. It was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it got pulled just before it was going to be aired. That's one thing. I recommend that. There's other couple books that I've read that you just have to kind of like read it and take what you will from it. One is called Transformation of America by Kathy O'Brien, and the other one is called Thanks for the Memories by Bryce Taylor. They're both, I think, very effective. The only thing is they kind of contradict each other at the end, so you might want to take a grain of salt. But I think that this whole thing with taking advantage of these young people is something that's pervasive and something that's got to be stopped.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, and definitely appreciate the information. And yeah, what are your thoughts on the arrest? Do you think that we're going to see real justice?
Man, come on. I mean, that's let's put it this way. It would be a surprise. I'm kind of not sure why New York decided to charge him when there wasn't a call for it in New York at the time. I know that people, the Miami Herald articles have been bringing attention back to the situation. But from what I understand, none of the victims in New York were calling for his arrest. I'm not sure why New York did it. I don't. Hey, I love police officers. I know a lot of them personally. They're nice people. But when institutions such as the New York Police does something this big and this dramatic, it maybe would raise a red flag as to their motives. You know, I hate to be a pessimist. I hate to be somebody who's like a cynic. But when the major media is on top of something this big, usually it doesn't come across with a big result. Usually something is getting buried, or something like a Ken Lay thing happens where, you know, a very big time name will get exposed, and all of a sudden the guy dies of a heart attack. You know, so I'm hoping the truth comes out. I'm hoping that people in high places are being responsible. All you could do is hope for the best. I don't have a lot of evidence in history so far to point to the possibility of something really, really good happening, but you got to hope for the best.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that call, and yeah, please continue listening. We're here every Friday from 3 to 4. Thank you.
Great job, guys.
All right.
Thank you for sharing those texts as well. You know, I got another. You know, I know we're getting to the last of the show. We only got about 10 minutes left. And I don't know if
you got a story. He's got some calls. You go through whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to make this one rather fast, even though it's a long story that I expect we'll get into. Nice.
Well, let's get this story from Micah, and then if we got a minute,
yeah, I'm going to make
please
it
hang
just
on, guys. We'll push the show right to the last second.
Yeah, we'll get a lot out. Don't worry. So it turns out, like back in 1981, the CIA and other government agencies pushed for the Intelligence Identities Protection Act, and that basically was designed to try to exclude covert agents that resided in the U.S., protect their identities, things like this. Now, more than 3 decades later, the CIA is apparently unsatisfied with the protections the bill granted covert agents. It is now using the WikiLeaks trial, terrorism, and more to argue for even more protections for CIA agents. What they're saying here is basically, where is this? Here, I'm trying to make it fast, right? CIA put specific requests for what language they would like in writing and gave this to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. The request was essentially copied and pasted with no changes into the intelligence bill, reading, undercover agency officers face ever-evolving threats, including cyber threats, particularly with the links organizations such as WikiLeaks are willing to go to obtain and release sensitive national security information, as well as incidents related to past agency programs such as RDI investigations, CIA torture report, the original congressional reasoning mentioned above for a narrow definition of covert agent no longer remains valid. The proposal would provide protection for all undercover agency officers by allowing for the prosecution of individuals responsible for disclosing the identities of those officers. And that's basically what I wanted to get out, that they're trying to amend the law that if you disclose an undercover officer's identity, you can be prosecuted, regardless of whether the undercover officer serves within the U.S. or outside.
So you're saying they're blaming this on WikiLeaks?
Yeah, and the torture, terrorism, these things that are going on. They're arguing, terror in the age of terrorism and WikiLeaks, and never mind their own torture memos, because some of these people that are high-ranking CIA officers now were simply covert agents back when the torture was going on. So this move to change this isn't just to protect future agents, it's also to protect the ones that are sitting right there in seats of power within the agency.
Involved in things like torture and other things.
Yeah. What's really scary about it is it will get to where it will harm congressional oversights of the Intelligence Committee, because you can't talk about what's going on anymore. You can't be able to talk about torture, war, covert actions like this. So I mean, it's as if there's this real resistance to transparency, and there's this phrase coming up now: radical acts of transparency. So we'll expect to talk about this more. So
yeah, and that's the reason I appreciate that story, other than that's valuable information, is it's a good reminder that Julian Assange is still being held, and I believe Chelsea Manning is still being held. I haven't heard any updates about her being released in relation to refusing to speak to a grand jury. So don't forget.
It's pretty scary to make it a crime for a reporter or a scholar to engage in an effort to mine into sources. I mean, just to find out what's going on, it could be a crime.
Johnny, we got a full switchboard up, so let's get somebody on the line. Thank you to everybody who's listening and watching via YouTube as well. We got got everybody hanging out there. If you got something to say, call in at 713-526-5738. We might get to you. Who do we got on the line?
Hello.
Hey, when we were listing off the intelligence agencies that he might be working for, by the way, this would be the most expansive honeypot operation in the history of the world, if that's what it is. But I was kind of surprised you didn't mention the United States and Mossad, which would be top of my list, because we all know that all intelligence agencies do that honeypot operation. And so what we're witnessing is that this guy's worn out his welcome, and that's why it's going down. Because, he became as threatening as Hoover. Hoover was getting information on everything. So
he wore out his welcome.
Yeah, he made. Thank you, caller.
Thank you for calling in. Who we got on the line next?
He actually made me Google that, and I see there's a few articles coming out saying did pedophile.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Who are we talking to?
Anthony.
How's it going, Anthony?
It's going good. The thing I want to talk about Epstein is we're not going to get justice with this. He's going to get every sweetheart deal that every millionaire and billionaire gets. He'll get maybe a couple of years in prison, get that, probably house arrest, and then we'll forget about it. Just like we forget about all the horrific things that go on.
Speak for yourself. We won't.
Huh?
Speak for yourself. We won't forget about it. But I don't I'm trying to be a little optimistic, not necessarily optimistic, but just wait and see. But Epstein, apparently, one report said that he and his lawyers are already trying to cut a deal if he gets 5 years at maximum. So
5 years.
And the history shows that he buys his way out of everything he can.
Isn't his jail like 8 hours a day? Only 8 hours a day?
Yeah, the sweetheart deal that he got included 16 hours a day work release for him to go to his office and be there, where he could still receive visitors, and reportedly including still young girls, and then go sleep at the jail. So that's the kind of deal he got him before.
Conviction.
So we understand why you feel that way, caller, but hopefully we get some real justice. All right, we're gonna go to the next on the line. Johnny, who do we got? Or you got anybody ready? Who's on the line with us?
Hello, MOD.
What's up, MOD? You got a good quick minute or so. What's on your mind?
The last thing, one of the last things that Pappy Bush mentioned in his last public speech was the highest level of treason is releasing the identity of our secret intelligence. He said that. Do y'all remember Scooter Libby?
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's his own son's cabinet did what Pappy Bush said was the worst thing you can do. Hey, these guys are all right. Operation Brownstone's been around for a while, but regarding Dershowitz, he put together that sweet deal, guys, for Epstein, which bypassed like 2 or 3 dozen children's, victims in agreement. When you do this kind of plea bargains, you have to have the victim's acknowledgement agreement. So that should be a red flag. How the first time Epstein got around it in 2008, that there was something wrong there. This sounds sort of like the Washington Madam scandal.
Yeah, the Madam, Washington, D.C. Madam.
Yeah, the D.C. Madam.
You remember that?
Yep.
So I'll leave it to this. I'm thinking that is, 95, Trump was in New York flat, sexual assault of a child, 2003. Slick Willie Clinton was in Paradise Island, he calls it, on his Lolita jet, whatever trip. So
The Lolita Express.
Yeah, they both got charged with assault of a child at Epstein's property. So the second caller was right about the honeypot, I think. But it's just to get Trump to do things that he's dragging his feet on, like maybe finishing Venezuela or going to Iran, because these things are lining up against him, right? And he's not moving quick enough, I guess. But is it convenient for Acosta just to resign, or is there a bigger fly in the pan to be taken out? So I think we'll see what happens, but Epstein's a tool, right?
Yeah, I mean, Epstein's definitely not the top of the food chain here. I think that's pretty clear to anybody who looks into this, But, man, we appreciate your call. I think we got someone else on the line we're going to get to, and nobody else? Oh, we're good. Okay, well, then MOD, we appreciate the call. We still, I think, got another story to cover, though. We know everybody's got Epstein on their mind and want to talk about Epstein. We do have a couple more minutes, but we got some more stories. And, I think that we're happy to take these calls because, again, I guarantee you...
the Finder's cult in a post from 2 years ago about Epstein. I
guarantee you you're not hearing that these same stories, maybe people are talking about Epstein some other places, but I don't think you're going to hear it in the same way the way we do, where we allow people to call in and express themselves, whether we agree 100% on their assessments or not. We let people call in, say their kind of in their research, their thoughts, and their perspective,
and then make fun of them when they hang up.
Yeah, once you guys hang up, we laugh at
we never would do that.
Now we're never going to get calls.
We definitely appreciate everybody calling in because it's adding to the dialogue, and that's what we need to do is be able to talk about this news and have an analysis from the public, so we can see what's going on, so that people are actually involved in the world they live in. I wish we could have spent a little bit more time on the CIA story. I think that's pretty important. It also, I got another story that we're going to get into further. Turns out that the U.S. IRS is considering subpoenaing all major tech companies such as Apple, Google, Microsoft in rabid search for taxpayers' unreported cryptocurrency holdings. They're getting hungry. Yep. So I thought that might be something to tell people. That's according to a slide deck presentation from IRS Cyber Training Session, which details a number of ways the agency's criminal investigations might find potential tax cheats. Tax cheats, like you just owe it to put your hands up and get robbed.
Crypto, is that what they're saying?
Yep, and they're going to get. They're obviously going to get all these various tech companies to
The IRS
serve
wants
them.
people to report their crypto, and they're ramping it up. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, they're going to go searching social media accounts such as Facebook and
Wow.
Twitter. Yeah.
That's crazy
For
stuff.
public mentions of crypto-related information, as well as vendors that accept Bitcoin. Yeah.
Are you hearing this, Johnny? I don't think Johnny's got his headphones on, but this is crazy. And I hope the YouTube
This
audience
is getting
heard that
more
right now.
attention than the CIA story, but it's kind of disappointing. But yeah, so, you know, they want your money. They want you to not care about who
Well, I think
they
they're
are.
all important, but they're all just invasions, right?
Yeah. You know, so.
Like, one's the CIA saying if you do the wrong kind of research or look at the wrong information or, you know, act in certain ways that we consider terrorism, then they can come after you, and it makes that easier.
They say what they're doing now is trying to identify people who own a Bitcoin, that therefore, and then chase down all wallet addresses and balances for the identified. So I don't know how they're doing it, but that's what they're working on. And the IRS subpoena power applies in civil cases as well as criminal cases. While this presentation was given by the criminal investigation, it indicates that criminal investigation will use that tool. There's nothing preventing the civil side from doing it as well.
I think Johnny has something to say.
Oh.
Cool. We can hang
Nice.
out 5 minutes.
We never shut up.
Oh, that's right.
We
Thank
shut
you,
up when
Johnny.
we're listening to music.
For the
but
YouTube
sometimes
audience,
we're
we have
singing.
5 more minutes on the show because our friend is running late, and
But that's
Johnny
Johnny
made a joke at our
information.
expense.
Let's cross-examine him on that one.
Johnny, you didn't have your headphones in though, but just a second ago, I want to get your thoughts on this. They were saying, Micah's reading a story saying the IRS is going to be ramping up their efforts to make sure people who use cryptocurrency report it. They're going to start searching social media profiles and searching social media posts about people who use crypto.
They're going to get Apple and Google to give them information too.
Find out how much money you have, though. They could only find out if you have it.
That's what now the first step they said is identifying people who have any, and then without them knowing, searching for all their wallets and holdings.
I don't think they can. I don't think they're smart enough to do that.
I don't either. They say they may be subpoenaing Google and Facebook as well as Twitter and others.
Have that information though?
I don't know, man.
I thought it was like when I got a Bitcoin account, I got some long passwords and a couple of them, and I mean, it's for good. It's for that exact reason, so that hopefully nobody, anybody.
I don't know, man. It's crazy stuff.
Your funds isn't supposed to look at it, But yeah, of course they're gonna go for it though. I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
No doubt.
All right. Well, what else you
how's
got,
things
Micah?
going on? Well, it turns out that there's all kinds
later.
of protests in China that we're just not hearing about. Do you think it has anything to do with the control grid?
Which protests? Because I've heard about some of the protests. The ones that were about the extraction law, but are these environmental?
Well, there's a lot of different ways that goes on, but turns out there's a good amount of how do we put it? Let's just get into the middle of this. Starting on June 28th, thousands of people in Yanglu, a suburb of Wuhan, and only 18 miles from downtown, and a designated economic and technological development zone, have been protesting a proposed waste incineration plant in their neighborhood. They have every reason to be angry. Their city used to be a beautiful place with hundreds of picturesque lakes. Relaxed seniors could be seen in practicing Tai Chi near waving willows trees in the lakeside. Now, most of the lakes are gone, replaced by factories, high-rise apartment buildings, and landfills for garbage. People have lived among smog and terrible smells for years. Seniors can't do their morning exercises, and parents won't let their children play outside. People complain that they can smell the terrible smell from the landfill that's miles away, and residents keep their windows shut all year round in a futile effort to keep the disgusting smell out. So I guess my point on bringing this one up is here's what they talk about: return 2,000 tons of trash each day into energy by burning it at the site that's the promised part. But all these things that they're talking about, this is a long story, and it talks about how basically these sort of things aren't covered at all in reports. These emissions, China is producing quite a bit of the world's consumption of like low-end plastic toys, low-end, most of your computers, all this stuff. And the people that live there, not only do they work in sometimes mandatory overtime environments, that sort of thing, but they're also, it turns out, they're having environmental consequences to it. And turns out that there's a lot of complaints that China's government is not following their own rules, that the incineration plants are reportedly beleaguered with problems, including, quote, illegal construction of waste incineration plants near residential areas, manipulation of assessment process, limited public participation. But I just wanted to go on outside of the U.S. for a little bit, and uh, they're asking even now in this article. They ask, are the Hong Kong protests beginning to spread to the mainland? So
Wow, spreading. Yeah, that's definitely. I've been keeping up with some of the protests going on in Hong Kong and over there in China as well, and. I think anytime people are rising up, it's important and it's valuable. I did see some. We don't have time to get into it today. Some of those weird signs when you see of certain people influencing and leading protests for their own reasons. Western influence and things of that sort.
Well, they have this one statement I think is kind of interesting. They say even for those mainland Chinese who know about the Hong Kong protests, there's little sympathy for Hong Kongers because implicit in since 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, the government killed protesters. Most Chinese agreed to an unwritten sort of social contract with their government. People accept limited political freedom in exchange for economic prosperity. Therefore, many mainlanders consider Hong Kongers spoiled children because they already enjoy political freedom beyond the reach of most Chinese.
Hey, I wanted to let everybody know who might be tuned in here to the KPFT 90.1 Houston that it is past the 4 o'clock hour. And if you're not hearing what you're used to hearing, well, this is Freethinker Radio. We are holding it down while our buddy gets here to the station.
Maybe we should play some music.
And we do this every Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. And you can find us at thehoustonfreethinkers.com. You can find us on Freethinker Radio on Facebook. And if you want to watch live, you can watch on the YouTube channel, The Conscious Resistance. Just look that up, and we'll be doing more live shows. But yeah, maybe we'll just go ahead and cut off our here, play some music, and then in just a little bit, you should be hearing World's Alternative Radio. Is that the World?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Afrotonic. Where you been?
We've had a couple of changes.
I waited
so
for Johnny to come through with that save.
But that sounds good too. So as Johnny just said, we'll have Afrotonic coming up. But in the meantime, we're going to play some more music. And everybody who's listened on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. We're going to sign out for the moment. And until next time, keep being awesome.
Yeah, thanks for being there for us. All you callers that call in, all the people with comments that make us know that it's important to get the stories out and keep the dialogue going.
Peace.
El Jumbotron, yeah.
This is El Jumbotron. Enjoy it.
Yeah, that guy has stayed on the line the entire show. The guy who yells at you all the time.
Oh, I gotta get that TV out. Oh yeah, he stayed on there. Okay, I didn't know that.
It's on my stuff. That's a pretty good show. Yeah, Don Paul. You can't say your name.
Okay,
I was trying to find a way to do that without banging right into the...
Yeah, no, I heard it.
That would be good.
I was just like, hey, start.